glad to have you back. You're still watching the morning show here on Arise News, and here to discuss the aftermath of the hashtag #EndSARS protest as it affects entrepreneurs and solutions to unemployment in Nigeria is the national head of Africa's young entrepreneurs, OLUBUNMI. OLUBUNMI, glad to have you join us.
Thanks for joining us.
Hope you can hear me. OLUBUNMI?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good,
Fantastic.
fine,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good having me this morning.
Good, good having you this morning indeed. Let's start like this. I want to take a quote from, one of the companies that the hoodlums vandalized and looted, particularly Spa. We listen to this quote. We acknowledge that this is a setback compared to the larger issues that we all are facing as a nation, and our thoughts and prayers remain with Nigerians everywhere. Rebuilding a supermarket is hard. Rebuilding a nation is even harder. We stand with you, Nigeria. The end of the quote. OLUBUNMI, I want you to take your time and dissect the statement and its varied ramifications.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I have to use this opportunity to, appeal to everyone's conscience at this time, because we're just coming out of pandemic. When this started.
We won't even come out of the pandemic.
We're still in it.
We're still in the pandemic, Yeah. So you can see what we are entering to now, and we are all looking at the challenges we are facing as a nation, which is very, very huge. And I've seen a lot of things in these past few days. I've seen a lot of pictures coming from entrepreneurs across Nigeria, and it's heartbreaking. When I look at all those things, because I understand what it takes, to establish a business. When you understand what it takes, how to establish business, you will never involve, in destroying people's property or business property or loot their goods. Most especially in the nation where we are, that is not easy to get funds. I myself, as an entrepreneur, I know what it takes us to get a loan from the bank. Even when you are getting it, it's on high interest rate. And we're talking about unemployment, and people are destroying business properties. I think at this point, I have to appeal to everyone's conscience, to stop that, going forward. I don't know how these people is going to recover now, because, we are in a situation that I think they caught the attention of all, because I don't know. Look at the ShopRite, look at the Spa, look at the mall. I don't think these people will come up in the next 1 year. It's easy to destroy, but it's not easy to build at all.
Absolutely.
At all.
Absolutely. Easy to destroy, not easy to build. Now, in a recent article written by you started with take your blame and have a rethink for a better Nigeria. So basically, are you saying you agree that, everyone, every single person, protesters, the government, celebrities, influencers, everyone has to take responsibility for what has happened? Everyone has to share in the blame.
Every one of us, you're right. Everyone should take responsibility. We are all to blame. From the president, to the governor, to the senator, every one of us, including the youth ourselves. Because, when we accept our responsibility and our blame, we'll be able to channel the way forward. Because if we don't accept, what happened, it's going to be difficult for us to channel the way out of this problem. Because it's a problem that lingered for too long. And if you look at it, I said something to someone this morning. I said, there are so many pandemics in Nigeria now. Unemployment is a pandemic. We have hunger pandemic. We have government bureaucratic bottleneck pandemic. We have infrastructural deficit pandemic. We have bad governance. They are all pandemic that is ravaging every one of us. And it has not started from now. Nigeria is 60 years old. We have not pinpointed anything that is working perfectly in this country, even to 30%, every sectors. So everyone should take their blame, including the private sector as well. The corporate social responsibility should be on the high side now. You can see what happened, because, you recall that I was on this station in May, and I see this coming. I wrote an open letter to the president and all the 30 state governors that there is a problem looming. It's not far-fetched. I'm not a prophet, but what I see is that I'm a student of project management. I know the beginning, of a project to the end, and I put Nigeria in a perspective of project, and I see what's going to happen. When there is hunger with unemployment, the baby is going to be what we are witness now. And fortunately, we have about 5 babies coming from these challenges we are facing now. So every one of us should accept our blame and move forward, because the foundation is so much. Are we talking about the bureaucratic bottleneck in the government that hold palliative in that warehouse for so long? Palliative should be for instant thing. So there are so many things that is wrong. Is it our constitution that is wrong? A lot of things is wrong in this country. I think it's time for us to go back to the table and look at it, and we are doing something that is totally wrong. We are putting a round peg in scale hole, and it's unacceptable. I normally say that it's what we call a pharaoh intervention. You know what happened in the Egypt during the famine? Bring the people who can make this thing work. Enough of cosmetic good governance going forward. Enough. We can't continue like that.
All right. On the issue of palliatives, we don't really know what is happening, because as talks about from states that the NSAS had to come in. And then, of course, I was listening to the governor of Cross River State yesterday. He said that it comes in batches, and the last one to come was on the 12th, and as it comes, they distribute. So one don't really know what happened, and the question of how people got information to go begin to loot those places. But the protest over, as it were. I said as it were because last night I was watching the TV, and I was witnessing what happened in Cross River State and Osun State, where senators were attacked. We'll probably get to that. But what should be the next sensible, organized, I'm choosing my words very carefully, the next sensible, organized, well thought out, purposeful plan, both on the path of government and the youth, to make sure that the root of these challenges are addressed?
So thank you very much for that question. I commend the youths, for voicing out at last. They call them the Sorosoke generation. Kudos to all of them. But we have two sets of youths. I call them youth A and B. They are all youths. But the society have turned this, the youth B to hooligans. They have turned them to, the name they call them miscreants. They are youth as well. The youth A are the one that organized the SARS protest. And you remember the SARS, police brutality generally is a value chain of bad governance of so many years. Because the police themselves, they are part of, they have their own parts of the bad governance of so many years. When you go to the barracks, you talk to the trainee, you look at their salary, so many things not working. So what I'm going to say going forward is that there is a lifespan to the street protests, honestly. There's a time for us to have to go back to the drawing board, and we have to go back to the drawing board with all our conscience. And I'm appealing to the conscience of every one of us, including the leader and the youth. Both the youth A and the youth B, they are all youth. I don't want to call them hoodlums. They are not hoodlums. They have the energy. If you convert their energy to something productive, they will not be on the street. Politicians will not be using them to be causing chaos. So I'm appealing to the youth A and B. Let us to come together with the government and the private sector and go back to the drawing board. What we are doing before cannot work going forward. That you just release something that is 25 billion, 75 billion coming out of somewhere, it can't work. There is no youth money. When you are saying youth money, it's not working in entrepreneurial way. Because when you budget money for something, it's going to who? Have you profiled the youth? You know what they want? So a lot of things have to be done. We have to sit down and draw a Marshall plan, to arrest the problem. The problem is unemployment and hunger and poor infrastructure. Those three are very important. We have to come together and do that plan, master plan. We will now work on that master plan. Government alone cannot do it because they have done it in the past. They fail us. Nigeria is 60 years. So many program or a lot of things. It can't work that way. The youth energy in any nation should be converted to something productive. And going forward, we should all come together and draw that plan. And we should look at our constitutions. The constitution of Nigeria is drawn to put a lot of hiccups to a lot of things that's not going to work. If you don't address those foundations, nothing can work. So we have to address all the pediment. The senators themselves have to go back to that house and amend their constitutions now, because they can see what is happening now. That's why we are making those alarm in this past months, years, that please let's address these unemployment challenges so that every one of us can be in peace. And there's no amount of the word you can preach among yourself that this cannot, penetrate. So we have to be very careful. We're in a situation that's a critical situation, and we must use a critical approach and mechanism to address the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. OLUBUNMI. However, if we're being realistic, what is the drawing board? Because when the protest started, it was as a result of the fact that there were so many drawing boards and there were so many plans for the youth, but nothing seemed to be feasible at the time. And if you remember, during the protest, there was no particular person that you can say this is the leader. So when you say let's go back to the drawing board, who is going to establish this drawing board? Who is going to liaise with the government? That's a big question. So going back to the drawing board could mean everybody go back into your houses and figure out a way forward for yourself. Yesterday, we had Seun Kuti on the show, and he said that the protests in Lekki were for the elites, and then everybody else was doing their own thing. There was a divide. So basically, imagine the elites go back to their comfortable homes, their comfortable houses, obviously figures out a way to move forward. What happens to the guy that was, for the first time in his life, could find people who could relate to, could find 3 square meals, could find a place that he could actually sit down and people are willing to talk to him and not say, oh, who is this person? You know, what happens to those guys? Are they just going to go back to the streets? What is their drawing board?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think the first thing is to apologize. Every of the leader, from the Mr. President to the Vice President, to every one leader, to apologize to the youth. They have failed us for a long time. And when you accept your responsibility, there's going to be a way forward. The President, I listened to the speech. I don't want to go to that speech. He should appeal, to the youth and make it open. Youth have leaders. There's no way they can organize SARS without leader. The reason where I think they are hiding their leaders away or whatever that's happening is the past. When you identify a leader, they waylay the leader or they buy over the leader. A lot of things happen. So I think I give them kudos, for that. Sincerely, with all sincerity. But way forward, government knows leaders in Nigeria. They know. We have sent a lot of proposals for them. We have done a lot of them to them. They should identify them among us. They call it a spot-on leaders. When you know a leader, you know the way they are talking, their passion. We are ready for them. I'm an head of an organization, Africans Young Entrepreneurs. I'm ready. If they want us to call to drawing board, we come to drawing board, we'll tell them what to do. It's our generation. You can't use an old generation, to solve the problem of a new generation. The solution to all the problems facing Nigeria is not far-fetched. Every one of us are traveling abroad, we see the way it's working. It can work back home. Those guys that make it work, you can see a well-organized, peaceful protest. They have food, they have a lot of things. They have a lot of things working, and you said those people does not have a structure. They have a structure. What you need to do for them is that you have to come down to their level. The gap between communication between the youth and the government is too far. What stopped when they brought those things to those states? What stopped the governor to announce it that we have this one? This is the day we are going to distribute it. We're going to distribute it in batches. Communication is very important, and that's why we are lacking. Nobody is ready to communicate with anyone. And that's why it gets to this stage. So going forward, on the drawing board we are talking about, we are looking at all the challenges facing Nigeria. We all know the challenges. The 5 major challenges facing Nigeria, let us tackle those 5 major challenges first. And the only thing that can arrest those problems is entrepreneurial intervention. I said it. I even put in a book so that everybody can see it. Entrepreneurial intervention, against power, entrepreneur on housing, job creation, infrastructural development. Every one of us see what Dangote is doing in the refinery. It's an entrepreneur. So we know all these things. It's time governments hand over what meant for the private sector or individual. They know that they have the brain to do it. Hand it over to them. You can now allow, with all due respect to the permanent sec or director in the ministry, to be doing a master plan, for an entrepreneur or job creation. He himself have never created a job before. He has been on the salary for a long time. So those are the things we are talking about. The drawing board, it should be drawn by the private sector, the youth organizations, the experts, the consultants.
We will keep you on pause here. Well, the question of no leadership was one very big challenge that the NSAS protests seem to have. We're going to get back and we'll continue on with the discussion. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us on the morning show here on Arise News. We still have Mr. OLUBUNMI OLUWADARE with us, and we have been talking about the way forward, businesses, and the fact that a lot of people have been affected, especially as a result of the damage. Now, you also spoke about the book that you wrote. You said, I See Money in Africa. It's an investment guide. Tell us about this and the content of this book and how you feel this can also help people, especially those looking to set up something. You said you started, you had your first business at 17 in equity. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've been the national head of African Young Entrepreneurs for about 10 years going now, and I have interface directly with entrepreneurs across, Africa, most especially Nigeria. And I myself, as an entrepreneur, I started early in life, so I understand, entrepreneurship journey very, very well. I've never collected salary from anyone. I've paid salary for people for the past 20 years going forward. So when I put this book together, it's an experience that I passed through and what I've seen in Africa. When I say I see money in Africa, what I mean by that is that there is natural resources in Africa, but what we lack is knowledge economy. Our education curriculum is totally obsolete. It cannot address a lot of things that can create job for us. That's why I put this book together to see, okay, let me do something that is going to help every youth, young people in Africa to see way forward. I stimulated the, different sector into a channel that will be easier for them to start business. For example, in tourism, a lot of people know that, I can't go into tourism. It's a lie. There are value chains in tourism that you can, establish business on. No matter, the cadre, the low cadre, the middle cadre, and the high cadre. So the book is stimulated in such a way that there is no raw material in Africa that is not captured. If you're getting this book, it's not just ordinary book. It's like a Bible to an entrepreneur. That you want to start a business, you go into it, you see so many sectors. I put about 600 business you can do in Africa that is needed now. And I give tips on how you can make it to happen. I short it. That's why you see the book is very portable, but it's loaded. It's part of what we are trying to put together, in knowledge, because we know knowledge economy is lacking. The Asia Tiger we are all talking about today, because they have knowledge. They now have knowledge how to convert what they have, the raw material they are taking from Africa, into product or service. And they send it back to us. Why that? When we can do it ourselves. Those state bitumen is coming out from the ground. In Ekiti State, a lot of things are there. In so many states in Nigeria. So the problem we're having is that we don't have the knowledge to convert what we have into a productive, product. It can add economic value to our country, and it's going to create employment. I put at least about 500 machinery, because we have missed the first industrial revolution, we have missed the second industrial revolution, we have missed the third, we are going to the fourth industrial revolution. If you miss this one, posterity is going to not judge any one of us right at all. So the book is all about, I've introduced it to the Honorable Minister of Youth. I've sent a letter to them, that every youth, most especially the NYC, as you are coming out of NYC, that's your job. There's no way you have the book in your hand. I want you to go through it and you understand what it's in. But the shock thing is that the foreigners are buying this book than the Nigeria. And it's worrisome, because we have to read. If you don't read, how do you want to know a lot of things that is going on?
Readers.
And I applaud our leaders to read the book as well, because it's bigger than the manifesto, so that you know what you can do, how you can channel, the natural resources within your state or your local government. Is a productive something that's going to create job and add economic value. That's what the book is all about. That's why I said investment guide, to job creation and economic development in Africa. And it's dedicated to Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who has done great in Africa.
They say readers are leaders.
Yes.
Yeah, OLUBUNMI, let's go back to the youth. One thing the youth does have in abundance is energy. But one thing at times they don't have is wisdom. Wisdom is acquired over time.
Yeah.
Is there a thing or two that the youths who participated in the NSAS protest and those who funded the protest should learn about when to push forward for a cause, when to retreat, and then monitor, and the need, I say again, for leadership?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I said something earlier that, street posters have an expiring, limit. I think, the reason why it escalates to this level we are is because of the long time bottled angers. You know, they've looked at it that government don't listen to them, which is true. So they don't even want to, you know, leave the street at all, because they want all their, you know, needs to be met. They are talking about NSAS 545s, and government said we're going to give you 545, but beyond that, because they are looking at it that we have a lot of problem. NSAS is just a face of the challenges on the ground. So they put it up to the government. But what I'm saying is that government will have responded swiftly to this and arrested the situation. It's very easy. It's wisdom. Imagine, you know, let me just give you something. They started the protest in day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Day 2, the president of the nation should ought to have address them openly. If possible, attend the rally with them. Or the protest. Let me call it protest, because we all understand something. When the politicians want to campaign, they go to everywhere. They know how to communicate with the youth and the general public. So they understand the power of communication. When the president wants to contest, you know, he himself have to leave Abuja to go to all the, you know, all the states to go and talk to this youth. Why not use the same approach when this something started? They wouldn't have, you know, get us to this. But I think we're all learning. Wisdom is a principal thing. But I think going forward, when something happens of this level, please, it should be nailed in the bud immediately. And I think the youth have to, you know, retrieve, you know, I appeal to their conscience to, you know, to calm down and let us look at the next, you know, stage of the whole thing. Thank you.
Well, Mr. OLUBUNMI OLUWADARE, thank you so much for joining us this morning on The Morning Show. I'm sure a lot of people would have taken one or two things from this conversation.